Understanding profitability in your architecture engineering firm means having some prerequisite data to establish a baseline, understanding of how your firm should be set up to hit its profit goals, regular analysis of numbers, and the ability to dig deeper and understand why you did or didn't hit a goal. Now, systems like Factor make it pretty easy to track all this information, do that analysis, and dig deeper to figure out why you did or didn't hit a number, but you still need to understand the why behind everything. So in this video, we're going to talk about those prerequisites, how to have your firm set up to hit profit goals, and what you should be checking on a regular basis and what it might mean as you check those numbers. So let's start by talking about these prerequisites, the data that we're going to need to know either in Factor or another system in order to analyze profitability. Now, this might sound like a joke because we're talking about analyzing profitability and saying the first prerequisite is knowing profit. We're talking about numbers coming from your accounting system. How much you're spending versus how much you're bringing in. What do you make in terms of profit overall at a firm level? Number two, you need a place to set a goal. What is your goal for profitability? Number three, what are you spending for your team? The labor cost, basically. What does it cost you to keep them employed? Next, we need to know the capacity of hours your team could spend and what their utilization target is. That is, what's their target for billable percentage of those hours. Finally, we need to know how much you've scheduled in dollars. So based on somebody's billable rate on a project, how many hours you've scheduled for them to work in a given week on that project, you can project out how much revenue you've scheduled on the resource schedule. Now, each of these prerequisites is very important for both understanding whether our firm is set up to hit our profit goal and whether we hit our profit goal, but more importantly, why we did or didn't. So let's now talk about how firms are set up. And I don't mean set up in Factor or another app. I mean set up in terms of their potential and whether that aligns to our profit goal. First thing we're going to talk about is earning potential. This is the amount of revenue that our team is likely to bring in, and it comes from this team capacity and utilization. So we can make assumptions that if everybody hit their utilization target or their billable percentage target, and they build the amount that we expect they're going to build across their different projects at an hourly rate or in fixed fee services, then we have our earning potential, or how much revenue we expect to bring in a month from their services. Next, we'll talk about monthly costs. Now, you could get this from your income statement and looking at your monthly costs from the last year. This is not necessarily just labor costs. This is what would be going into your overall firm profit up there in our prereqs. Now, with these two pieces of information, we can calculate something that we're going to call profit potential. This one's pretty easy. We're going to use the numbers that we just got. So earning potential minus our monthly cost divided by the earning potential. Now that we've got profit potential, we're going to compare it to profit goal. The higher the profit potential is over the goal, the more likely you are to hit the goal. And if profit potential is under the profit goal, it's impossible to hit the goal. So if we wanted to change the profit potential because we find it's actually lower than our goal or not as far above the profit goal as we'd like it to be, we need to affect the items that went into this calculation. That is, we need to change our earning potential or change our monthly cost. The only way to change labor cost is pay people less or lay people off. And if we lay people off, we're also affecting earning potential because our overall capacity is changing. The only other way to change our monthly cost is really to look at overhead costs for operating our firm and see if there's anything that can be cut there. We have more options when it comes to changing earning potential. We could charge more per hour, so even if people hit the same utilization targets, we could bring in more revenue. We could change their utilization targets or schedule them to a higher billable percentage on projects. We also could just hire staff, which yes, is going to lift monthly costs through increased labor costs a little bit, but certainly is going to increase potential for earnings more because you charge more for your people's time to your clients than what you pay them. So by affecting earning potential or monthly costs, we can affect that profit potential, get it that much higher over our profit goal, and increase the likelihood that we're going to hit that profit goal. So now that we've got established prerequisite data and we know that our firm is set up in a way that we can actually hit profit goals, now it's time to do analysis. First thing we're going to look at on a monthly basis is profit. We can see the overall firm profit. We know how much we brought in. We know how much is going out. We need to be looking at that number on a monthly basis and using it in conjunction with other numbers we're analyzing to understand what happened and why it happened. The next thing we're going to look at is our monthly service revenue. This is how much we invoice for our team's time. It's helpful in a few different ways. We can compare it to our labor cost, which tells us just our profitability overall on labor. But it also can be compared to some other numbers here to understand what's going on in the firm. For shorthand, we're going to pull a few things out of this list that we're going to use for comparison. We're going to take this monthly service revenue. That's our actual. That's what we invoiced. We're going to take our earning potential and we're going to call that target. That is, if everybody hit the earning potential by hitting their utilization targets and billing what they could bill on projects, we would hit the target. Finally, based on our resource schedule, that is the hours we told people to work on projects and the rates that they charge on those projects, we know how much we scheduled to bring in. So let's talk about comparing these numbers to tell the story of why we did or didn't hit our goal. If our actual is higher than target, then that's great news. There's no problems to find. But if our actual billings are lower than our target, we need to start asking tough questions and comparing numbers. Let's start by talking about a scenario where we scheduled an amount that would hit our target. So these are quite close to one another. If that's the case, then we next need to see whether people worked what they were scheduled to work. So the actual hours our team members logged versus what they were scheduled. If people simply didn't work on what they were scheduled to work on, then we need to have a conversation with those individuals. If they did work on what they were scheduled to work on, we next need to look at budgets for our projects. Is there a not to exceed limit on certain projects or fixed fee work that, yes, we are investing hours into that project, but we just can't actually invoice the total amount that we've invested, and we need to have a conversation with our project managers about scope control, or we need to have a budget conversation with our clients so we can hopefully recoup some of that cost. Finally, if people did work on what they were scheduled to work on, it may just be that we missed something in billing. So we should be looking at our budgets for WIP to determine whether we didn't bill all that we could have. And if that's the case, again, talk to your project manager and find out, is that because we don't have enough of the work done to bill to a certain percentage completion? Or is there something else going on with that project where we're investing a lot of hours, but we're not keeping up with the work complete and they feel uneasy about invoicing the full WIP or work in progress that you could potentially invoice the client? Now, if the scheduled amount is significantly lower than the target, then it may be a pipeline problem. You may simply not have the work to schedule people to, or you might have a project management problem where your project managers don't have visibility, understanding, or a clear enough goal that they should be scheduling to, and just simply are not scheduling people to hit your targets. Whatever the case may be, once you have these three numbers, you're able to take corrective action, either with the client on the contract side, with your project managers and how they're scheduling or controlling scope, with team members that maybe are not following the plan of what they were scheduled. And most importantly, you can answer why you are or are not hitting earning potential that lets you clear monthly cost and hit profit potential and then exceed your profit goal. Factor, of course, lets you track all these prereqs. It lets you quickly see whether you're set up to meet profit potential that's going to help you hit profit goals. And finally, you can track along the way what your monthly profit is, what your service revenue is, and how you're tracking to your profitability goals. So visit factorapp.com and get a free demo or sign up for a free trial account. We'd be happy to show you how your projects would look in a system that lets you track profit and make moves to increase profitability.